2025, America's multi-crisis scenario, a dark comedy preview. Ladies and gentlemen, ever wonder what the US economy might look like in the second half of 2025? Here's the TLDR: stocks, bonds, even burgers. Handle with care. Government shutdown and the bigger crisis begins. The US is about to issue $2.1 trillion in new treasury bonds. Even Uncle Sam's basically maxed out his credit card and is about to start revolving payments. But the real question, who's buying? Technically, there's this thing called the debt ceiling suspension, which lasts until January 1st, 2025. Until then, debt can keep growing with a bureaucratic year. Sure, go ahead. After that, Congress must approve every extra penny. Here's what Biden did before clocking out. He ballooned national debt to $36.1 trillion, then dropped the fiscal grenade on Trump's lap. Trump caught it and went, what do I do with this? First, the TGA Treasury General Account, the US government's main checking account, ideally, should hold around $750 billion to stay chill. Current balance? $364 billion. They already scraped $470 billion from it. That account's emptier than a college student's fridge before payday. Second, the Federal Employees Retirement Fund. They borrowed $540 billion from it. Everyone knows you don't touch pension money, not even kids. But the government? It's just us, right? They borrowed it, but forgot to pay decent interest. Average returns? 7%. What the fund's getting? Maybe 3 to 4%. Somewhere, a pension manager is probably crying in a corner. Third, the reverse repo market. Think of it as the Fed's rainy day jar. Back during the COVID money flood, banks had too much cash, so the Fed was like, park your cash here, take treasuries in return. Once there was $2.1 trillion. Now? Nothing but dust and spider webs. So what happened? With no new bonds issued, the 10-year Treasury yield sat comfortably at 4.3%. Had they issued, it'd easily be 5% by now. But wait, there's more. August 4th, the so-called X-date, the doomsday clock for US default. If the debt ceiling deal isn't reached by then, shutdown guaranteed. And even if a deal is made, there's still a backlog of bills. $1 trillion in delayed bonds from earlier this year. $600 to $700 billion to refill the TGA. $540 billion to pay back the retirement fund. $1 trillion for the rest of the year's deficit. Total? Around $2.2 trillion. All needing fresh treasury bonds. But who's buying? The reverse repo vault? Empty. Banks? Even if the SLR regulation is eased, they only cover 7% of the bond market. So Treasury Secretary Bessent throws out this pitch. Hey banks, we'll ease your regulations, just buy some bonds. Yeah? Problem? When banks buy bonds, they lend less to companies and households. That's called the crowding out effect. The government hogs all the money, private economy shrinks, and bankers are probably thinking rates might climb further. Why buy now and lose later? So yeah, SLR relaxation isn't the magic bullet. What about the stablecoin market? Currently at $230 billion in market cap, compared to a $2 trillion bond issue. It's pocket change. So here's the forecast later this year. A bond again is coming to the financial markets. 5% treasury yields? It's just a matter of time. And when rates spike, stocks, real estate, consumer spending, investment, all get crushed. Feels like America's whispering. Got cash? You'll need it. We're dead serious now. This is the end game for the global economy. Like the last moves on a chessboard, America's out of options. All that's left is a brutal fight with interest rates. From now on, keep an eye on US bond yields. They're the heartbeat of the global economy now. Trump's tariff bomb, the inflation trigger inside America. On July 12, 2025, President Trump fired off tariff letters like confetti to countries around the world. The EU? 30%. Canada? 35%. South Korea and Japan? 25%. And Brazil? A jaw-dropping 50%. Each announcement sent the global economy into full panic mode. The European Union was the most stunned. They'd been negotiating tirelessly with the US, only to be slapped with a 30% tariff starting August 1st. Wait, we negotiate in good faith and get taxed more. Yeah, Europe wasn't amused. There's a weird pattern here too. The later the announcement, the higher the tariff. Brazil 10%, 50%, a 5x increase. Canada and Mexico 25%, 30%. Europe hoped for 20%, got it with 30% instead. At this point, tariff negotiations are less diplomacy and more a dice roll at a shady casino. And that was just the beginning. Product-specific tariffs kept evolving like a villain in a video game. Steel and aluminium from 25% to a beefy 50%. Copper suddenly slammed with a 50% tariff. Why is copper so critical? Wires, power lines, transformers, it's all copper. No copper, no AI, no robots, no EVs, no power grid. The day AI freaks out over copper prices? Yeah, that's coming soon. Home appliances with high steel and aluminium content? That's 50% tariff too. Buying a microwave feels like buying a gold bar. Cars and auto parts, a 25% tariff slap. American car makers are basically saying, even our tissue paper's gonna get taxed. And this impact comes with a 2 to 4 month delay. Raw materials, parts, finished goods, your wallet. By September or October, expect a nationwide chorus of why is everything so damn expensive. And when copper prices climb, so do your electric bills. Power lines, wires, transformers, all built on copper. US utility companies are already filing for rate hikes. Once approved, expect higher power bills, followed by another round of price hikes across the board. Then there's Trump's bold statement. As long as oil prices stay down, inflation won't rise. Well, bad news. Oil is already stretching its limbs for a big comeback. Why? Meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. Producing oil costs them just $9 a barrel, but to balance their budget, they need oil at $95. At $70, they're bleeding deficits. Oh, and thanks to Trump's 50% steel tariff, the cost to produce US shale oil has shot up from $48 to over $70. Shale companies? Screaming bloody murder over equipment costs. Bin Salman isn't stupid. He'll pump just enough at $70 to kill US shale, then jack prices to $95 to $120 per barrel. Why? Because Saudi's future projects, like Neom City and entertainment ventures, need funding. Trump betting that oil prices won't rise? Pure wishful thinking. Bin Salman isn't boosting production out of charity for Trump. International politics doesn't do freebies. In short, Trump's tariff bomb, Bin Salman's oil price revenge, a double uppercut to US inflation. Trump's delusion, tariffs to rule the world. President Trump is riding high on confidence lately. Why? Because in June, the US posted a $27 billion budget surplus. See? Tariffs work. America's raking in the cash. He cheered. But here's the thing, this is just a statistical illusion. Companies, terrified of Trump's tariff threats, stockpiled 3 months worth of inventory in advance. The customs flood in June made tariff revenues explode temporarily. A one-off tax windfall, but Trump's treating it like an endless pension. Let's break down Trump's 3 biggest delusions. First delusion: tariffs. Inflation didn't budge. Trump says, look, we slapped tariffs and prices didn't rise. Why? Because everyone's still burning through stockpiled goods. But once those are gone, the tariff-priced goods hit shelves. By September to October, shoppers will cry, why is this cereal more expensive than my phone? Still, since inflation hasn't spiked yet, Trump thinks, guess we can slap more tariffs then. Spoiler, it's gonna backfire. Second delusion: treasury yields. No problem. Trump boasts, see? I tariffed everyone and interest rates didn't spike. Reality check: that's only because the US hasn't issued new bonds this year. From January to July 2025, new bond issuance? $0. That's unheard of. Why? debt ceiling constraints. Instead, they raided pensions and drained the TGA account. Rates are being artificially held down. But guess what? From August, the US has to issue over $2 trillion in bonds within 5 months. That's a mega time bomb on a short fuse. While Trump's distracted, 10-year yields have already hit 4.4%. If it crosses the taco threshold again, stocks, real estate, the whole economy? Straight to hell. Third delusion: tariffs. Foreign companies pay. Trump's iconic claim. It's not US companies, foreigners pay the tariffs. Yeah, not quite. It's actually the importers, US companies, footing the bill. Trump even told Walmart, "You guys handle the tariffs, don't pass it to customers." But Walmart's profit margin? A measly 2.8%. A 30% tariff? Way above that. Even Amazon, with a 10% margin, can't eat that cost. Result? Higher prices for everyone. Plus, Trump's forgetting 2018 to 2025. Back then, China offset the tariff impact with export subsidies and currency devaluation. That's why US inflation stayed calm. Today? Totally different game. First off, OECD countries' debt to GDP ratios. In 1990, a tidy 36.9%. Post-COVID, it's skyrocketed to 111%. That's triple. A 100% debt ratio means the global wallet is empty. Maxed out credit cards, all loans tapped out. No room for fiscal maneuvers. Even China's not safe. In 2010, their debt to GDP was just 33%. By 2030, it'll hit 116%. They're drowning in debt too. And export subsidies? Forget it. Xi Jinping's probably punching his calculator, thinking, another subsidy? At this rate, we'll have to pawn the whole country. Plus, China's aging crisis? Fewer young workers, more seniors to support. No money for old tricks like slashing export prices. Trump's tariff nostalgia from 2018? Dead on arrival in 2025. Today, tariffs, inflation explosion. We're living in a wallet-empty global economy. While Trump's still stuck in his fat wallet 2018. In short, Trump's old-school tariff recipe? About as useful as a recipe from a bankrupt diner. Last delusion: tariffs will revive US manufacturing, create jobs, shrink the trade deficit, and stabilize prices. Yeah right. US GDP per capita? $89,000, China's at $13,000, Vietnam's at $5,000. Building stuff in America? Labor costs would launch prices into orbit. Robotics? Only the final assembly line is automated. Mid-process steps still need human hands. Trump's fantasy roadmap: tariffs, manufacturing returns, more jobs, price stability. Reality: tariffs, production costs explode, prices skyrocket, public meltdowns. In conclusion, Trump's level of delusion? Honestly, it's art. Tariffs to rule the world? No, sir. Maybe start by ruling your own citizens' wallets first. What happens if the AI's worst-case scenario for the US actually comes true? If the US defaults, it's not just the economy catching a cold. It's households catching the flu, society getting pneumonia, and the whole country landing straight in the ICU. Social security payments get delayed. SNAP benefits, yeah. The good old food stamps run out, and suddenly 55 million seniors and low-income folks are wondering what's for dinner, or if dinner's even happening. SNAP, run by the USDA, helps 42 million people buy groceries with EBT cards. Cut that off. Dinner comes with a side of anxiety. If mortgage rates jump 0.7 to 0.8%, we're looking at another million foreclosures. Congratulations, it's 2008's sequel The Housing Crisis Strikes Back. Or welcome to the Lose Your Home Challenge. Healthcare? If Medicare and Medicaid payments stall, hospitals start looking like ghost towns. For the poor, hospitals might as well be museums. Look, but don't touch. Government trust? One default and one shutdown later, confidence plunges to 18%. We might see a chop off the hand that paid taxes club pop up. Political polarization? Think UFC, but bloodier. Congress versus extremists, it's a battle royale with zero winners. Welfare cuts, direct hit on low-income families, people of color, seniors. Economic inequality, not just rising, it's got VIP access to the top. Local governments, without federal grants, it's fend for yourself. Education, public safety, infrastructure, all running on fumes. Homeland Security, FAA, FBI, nearly broke, with strikes on the horizon. Airport security, doors wide open. And with US-Middle East relations in the dumpster, it's like hanging a terrorist's welcome banner at every airport. TSA no-shows, security gaps, for international terror groups. US airspace is basically self-service. Flying soon? Skip the TSA line, grab a Lucky Charm instead. School lunches, disability aid, gone. Welcome to the land of hungry learning and forgotten welfare. Global impact, US defaults, the world hits the panic button. Stocks, bonds, dollars, sold off en masse, straight into global recession. The dollar's thrown? Shaky at best. As trust drops, borrowing costs soar. Eventually, all the US can afford is paying interest. Hello, national debt revolving credit. Trump's combo move of tariff bombs default. At NATO and G7, the US would just be that broke loudmouth uncle. And no, this isn't a movie. It's a possible script for the next few months. From August to December, financial market meltdown. Stocks, bonds, the dollar, all tanking. Retirement funds, that 401k? Yeah, it's a 301k now. The 401k is where US workers save pre-tax dollars with employer matches. Total assets, about $7.8 trillion. But if stocks crash? Half off, no coupon needed. Mortgage and credit card delinquencies? Skyrocketing. Bankruptcy filings everywhere. Credit score? People will ask if it's edible. If Social Security delays, seniors flood the streets. A 35-day government shutdown. Airports and national parks close. Tourism flatlines. 2026 to 2027. GDP drops 4%, unemployment hits 7%, 6 million jobs vanish. Middle class? On display at the museum. 50% tariffs, weak dollar, import prices up 10 to 20%. Essentials get slammed. Cities versus countryside, poor versus middle class. Let the Hunger Games begin. Education, healthcare, public school budgets slashed, hospital wait times. Take a number, see you in 6 months. Lose a tooth, see you next year. Post 2028. Trust in the dollar fades, interest payments eat up 3.9% of GDP. The US, just maxing out its national credit cards, rolling balance after balance. The rich, diversified portfolios, smooth escapes. The poor, deeper into the abyss. Gini coefficient, sounds classy, but it's just the inequality scoreboard. 0 means everyone's equally rich or poor. 1 means one dude owns everything while the rest work Uber shifts. The US income Gini, 0.41, high among developed nations. Wealth Gini, a jaw-dropping 0.85. Basically one king, 300 million beggars. Global leadership of the US, just a loudmouth in international meetings. Isolation, here we come. The takeaway? If America screws up, it's not just their problem, it's a global disaster flick. Default? Tariff bombs? Stop it, please.